Hello, this is Michael Rubin. So it's kind of been a while. Forgive me, I've been busy. So we've been working on some Harp and we got through the first two licks. And looking at the rest of the licks, there's really nothing new theory-wise to look at. So I'm just going to tell you what happens, okay? The next lick, it's almost the same as the first one. The first one goes, oh, this is a C harp. B flat harp. And this one goes, well, in the second one you only hang on the 4 draw for a split second instead of for a full bar. But the difference is in the first lick you go from 4 draw to 4 bend to 4 blow. In the next lick you go from 4 draw directly to 4 blow. So you skip the 4 bend. But basically he's creating a musical theme. So if you listen to these two licks, and they're almost the exact same, and it creates a theme. So part of the problem is when you learn one of them, you develop muscle memory, and you'll often screw up playing the other one, or vice versa. The next lick, and that's the first 12 bars, and that's what we're looking at. So I've written out the tablature. Let's talk about analyzing what we've written. First off, we talked in the last couple of lessons about how almost every note that he plays, except for 3 draw, is in the blues scale. But how did I know that every note he played except for 3 draw was in the blues scale? Well, I know my cross harp blues scale because we worked it out before in an earlier lesson. 2 draw, 3 single, 4 blow, 4 single, 4 draw, 5 draw, 6 blow. That's 2 blow octave. Now he doesn't play any higher than 6 blow in this song, but he does play lower than 2 draw. So if we were to go lower, 2 draw, 2 double, 1 draw, 1 bend, 1 blow. He doesn't play all those notes, but every note that he plays except for 3 draw is one of those notes in the blues scale. Now, in order to communicate to other musicians and talk to them about what you're doing, it's important to know the names of the notes that you're playing and the scale degrees. And by scale degrees, I mean that in the key of C, C is the first note, D is the second note, E flat is the flat third. We've talked about all this stuff before. But the question is, how do we know these two things, the names of the notes and the scale degrees? So a lot of times I'll say to my students, what are the names of the notes that he's playing? And they know that on a C harp, 4 bend, the first note in the song is D flat or C sharp. So they'll say the first note is D flat, then it goes to a D, 4 draw, and I'll say, oh, those notes are on a C harp. We're not on a C harp, we're on a B flat harmonica. So here is our first opportunity to really look at one of the big questions of harmonica. How do you know the names of the notes on another harmonica? Do you really have to memorize 12 harmonicas? That seems like a lot. Well, although I can tell you I have memorized all 12 harmonicas, I have a trick so you don't have to memorize all 12. So we are going to learn how to know the names of the notes on any harmonica, any standard diatonic harmonica. First, let's look at the C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I'm going to separate them and put a space between them. So C, space, D, space, E. Okay? Now, if we were to number these, to say the C major scale, C is the first note, D is the second note, number them 1 through 8. So I want you to notice that 1 and 8 are the same note. They're both C. Now, there's notes that are on the keyboard that are not in this scale. So let's fill it in. In between C and D comes C sharp or D flat. In between D and E comes D sharp or E flat. There is no black key between E and F. In between F and G comes F sharp or G flat. In between G and A comes G sharp or A flat. In between A and B comes A sharp or B flat. And there is no black key between B and C. So we need to come up with numbers for these notes. Let's look at C sharp or D flat. There is no C sharp or D flat in the C major scale, so how can we give it a number? All numbers are in relation to the major scale. So there is no D flat in the major scale, but there is a D. I think you remember in the blues scale, and also in the Mixolydian and the Dorian scale, we talked about the flat 7. And we meant the note that is one keyboard note higher than the 7th note of the scale. So, D flat is one keyboard note lower than the 2nd note in the scale. So we could call it flat 2. Now normally you write 2 lowercase b, 2 flat, but you say flat 2. Some people will put the flat before. They'll put B2. That's fine. It's just another dialect. Now you could call this a sharp 1. That would be fine. Most of the time, for most situations, musicians will talk about flat numbers. Every now and then they'll talk about a sharp number, and there's some reason for that. But we're talking flat numbers for this experiment. So, E flat therefore becomes the flat 3. There is no flat 4 because there is no black key between E and F. G flat becomes the flat 5. A flat becomes the flat 6. B flat becomes the flat 7. And there is no black key between 7 and 8, so there is no flat 8. This is very important. There is no flat 4, and there is no flat 8. And since 1 and 8 are the same note, they're both C, there is no flat 1. And there never is. There is never a flat 1, flat 4, or flat 8. Now some very heavy-duty theory guys are going to say, oh, but in this situation in jazz, we call blah, blah, blah the flat 4 because... They're thinking too hard. A flat 4 is a 3. Now, in jazz, they have reasons for calling a 3 a flat 4 at certain points. We're not playing jazz. We're playing blues. For your understanding, there is never a flat 1, flat 4, or a flat 8. And there never is. Okay, this is a good stopping point. I'm going to try and do this once a week and continue to get to the point where you can be able to tell the names of the notes on any harmonica. All right, see you soon.